Hello students in online public speaking. Professor Steviano here again, and assignment one's done. The grades are back. If you haven't got your grade yet, please email me and I will make sure you get it. Or it might be that I maybe missed your speech, maybe you turned it in a funky way. Remember, everything should be submitted through Blackboard and then post the link onto Discord to make sure that everyone can look at it and give comments in an easy way. But the important thing is that you submit it into the assignment folder on Blackboard. So if you didn't do that and you have like a 0 or bad grade, just contact me and let me know where it is and I'll have a look at it. These assignments were really, really good, and I'm trying to figure out why that was. And I came up with some things that if your grade wasn't an A, what is it that makes a speech really excellent? And I came up with a couple of things. The first is the speeches that had a really, really clear point to them, not necessarily something to change somebody's mind or something to change a belief, but the speeches that had a very clear point, like here's what I'm going to do, and they were up front with it, are always going to perform better. The reason why is because the audience has less chance of perceiving you as deceiving them and wasting their time. You guys are lucky, young people are lucky, they have a word for this now called clickbait. In the past in oratory, they didn't really have a term like this. It was sort of being a deceptive speaker, or lying or misrepresenting, or our favorite term, manipulating. These are all things that people said of oratory in the past, but now we have a metaphor we can bring over from the internet in terms of clickbait. So you don't want to ever be accused of clickbait. That's just as bad as actually doing it, because then people won't listen to the rest of your speech. So be upfront and clear about what it is that you're going to do. How do you do this? The best way to do it is you say to the audience, here is the value you're going to get out of listening to this entire speech. So let's say your podcast, your video is about 7 minutes long, and also most people who got a good grade were between 7 and 10 minutes, which is a pretty good amount of time for the assignments in this class. At the end of the 7 minutes, what are you going to get out of it? What's the value that's been added to your life? Audiences are thinking implicitly that this is an exchange. They're giving you some of their time and sustained attention, but for what? The more upfront you are with what you think the perceived value is going to be at the end of this, the better off you're going to be, and the more likely they're going to listen to the whole thing, and the more likely you're going to increase your opportunity to persuade them. So always communicate what the value added is to listening to your speech. They can get a speech about these topics anywhere. Why would they listen to you? Or why would they spend 7 minutes of their valuable time when they could be watching another funny video, clicking somewhere else on YouTube, listening to some music? Why would they listen to you? That's really, really important. Another thing that set speeches apart in terms of quality that I noticed was the use of research. Now, you don't need research for every single speech that you do, and what counts as research, we have a very bad model of. We think of it in terms of evidence. We think of it in terms of a scientific epistemology or a social science epistemology. That is not necessarily what evidence is. There's another distinct form of evidence, actually traditionally a subset of the larger term proof in the study of rhetoric. Proof is the stuff that makes the audience more willing to accede to your point. What this is not the way we think about it now, clobbering people over the head with facts, clobbering people over the head with the truth. I know the facts. Why don't you pay attention to the facts? You're an idiot. I hate you. I wish you would die. This is what contemporary political speech sounds like. And it's really unfortunate, because that is a over-reliance on facts and evidence and scientific epistemic proof. That's not going to persuade anybody. Most of the time, speeches like that are given to excite people who already believe in what you're talking about. So there's really no point to speaking like that if you're trying to reach people and actually get them to change their mind about something. Instead, the concept of proof uses research as a way to create a shared reality. Wayne Brockreedy has a great essay that, if you take my argumentation class, you'll read, called Where is Argument? And in that, he outlines 6 things that an argument should have in order to be considered an argument. And one of them is something like, I'm not going to get the wording exactly right here, but it's something like a shared frame of reference shared optimally. Now, that's kind of a fancy way of saying what you want to do is confirm the reality that you're describing to the audience through a shared source that can be a bridge or a connection between your perception and theirs. That's the function of research. So when you say things like an article said, or I found this on this website, you're not really doing that because they have no idea. An article could be anything. What's an article to you? Say the name of the publication, and better yet, say who wrote it and who they are. Even better still, if it's from Fox News or the New York Times or some CNN or some biased source, either economically biased or politically biased, which almost every source is, by the way. Spoiler alert there for you. The audience is going to perceive these sources as much more loyal to an agenda than any kind of objectivity. What you want to do is preserve that perception of objectivity. How do you do that? Find out the credibility, the qualifications, and the nature of the person who's being interviewed, and you'll be in good shape. Once you do that, and once you find that person's credentials and why they should be listened to, you're good. So instead of saying, according to an article in the New York Times, makes it sound like the New York Times said it. You're like, according to Dr. So-and-so, who is an expert on this, who was interviewed in the New York Times, whole different world. So think about the nuance in the kind of proof you're offering to build bridges so that you can share a reality with your audience. The more of an external reality you share with them, the more likely they are to agree with you or to see that you're not crazy and you're not just talking based on whatever you're thinking about today. Another thing people did that I thought was really, really good is the use of silence, pausing, and speaking very clearly. Your speech topic is yours. You're very familiar with it. You've researched it, and you've probably rehearsed it a couple of times. Rehearsing and practicing is great, but the problem with it is if you rehearse and practice a speech, what ends up happening is you get over familiar with it, and you forget that the audience is just hearing this for the first time. Talk slowly. Pause. Give the audience a chance to digest what you're saying. Let them think about what you're saying. Let them internalize it, and use some pauses for that. A lot of you used the built-in music on Anchor.fm or other music to indicate a transition or a pause or a move from one idea to another. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and I would encourage you to experiment with those features. There's no requirement to use those fancy features, but experiment with them and see if they provide the kind of atmosphere, the kind of sound, the kind of attitude that helps your audience stay with you and stay listening to you when their attention is being assaulted by every other thing that they could be doing instead of listening to you. And that's very, very important. The final thing, and I saved this most important thing for last, is the conclusion. A lot of you just said, thanks for listening, bye. That's not really going to cut it. Usually, if you've done a good job in your speech, your audience is empowered. They feel energized. They want to act. They want to do something. Let them know what they can do in order to further their own knowledge and education on this topic. Let them know who they can contact if they want to advocate for this topic. Or let them know what the next steps are for making what you want to have happen a reality. Every speech you ever hear is going to do one of three things. It's going to try to change the way you think about something, the way you feel about something, or the way you act about something. That's pretty much what they're going to do. So if every speech has that as kind of programmed into us through our whole lives of listening to oratory and political speech, how are you going to use that cultural and traditional assumption at the end of your speech to get people to feel good? At the end of it, it feels like, a lot of you feel like you're dumping a bucket of cold water on them. Okay, that's it, bye. It's not going to do it. Lead them out of the speech with some care and let them know where they can go next if they want to further whatever it is that you've talked about. So there you go. Good job on speech 1. I was very, very happy with the quality. You guys are amazing. I look forward to grading speech 2 and looking at it. But with these tips, I hope that they'll help you with speech 2 as well. And I made this video public because I think that maybe these speech tips might help other people too. So if you happened upon this video, it's for an online public speaking class that I do at St. John's University in New York City. But those of you in the class, I hope it was helpful. And get on the Discord. Let me know what you think about this video, and let me know what your questions are about the upcoming speeches. And after speech 2 is over, I'll do another one of these to kind of assess where we are. But so far, the TLDR is good job, excellent work, slow down, use evidence and use proof and reason better. Use it as a way to connect, not punch people with what you want them to believe. And work on conclusions. I think those are some of the weak spots.